in a movie where a man gets the ability to freeze time and uses it for his own personal pleasure. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy the movie. We begin with our protagonist, Ben Willis, and his breakup with his first girlfriend ever, Susie. They'd been dating for 2.5 years, and now Susie is furious at him as she throws cups and their vase at him. Ben compares this whole thing to an emotional car crash. Sometime later, at his college cafeteria, he sees Susie making out with another guy and contemplates the reason for their breakup. His friend Sean comes to him and consoles him. Ben notes that Sean is not exactly the ladies' man himself. Ben is in his final year of art college, and one of his classes requires him to draw a naked man. However, he starts drawing the female student across from him. His teacher comes over and says that this is disrespectful to the model and makes Ben draw the man. At night, Ben can't sleep, thinking back to their breakup. He's the one who broke up with her because he thought that he couldn't make her happy. He calls her from the dormitory phone and asks if they can get back together. Susie regretfully says no. He asks if her new boyfriend is better than him in bed, at which point she hangs up. Ben then looks at photographs of their time together, regretting not being with her anymore. He brings a lighter to the photos, but can't bring himself to burn them. Ben says that he can no longer sleep ever since the breakup. No matter what he does, he cannot rest, and because of that, he now has more time to think of his time with Susie and to grow even sadder. He takes the extra hours to read all the books he had wanted to, but never can he really forget her. In the departmental store, Ben buys some snacks when he notices that they are hiring. In order to kill the time, he applies for the night shift. The manager, Mr. Jenkins, hires him immediately. Ben sees this whole thing as him trading his free time for money, cash back. One day, the girl, Sharon, arrives late. Mr. Jenkins takes this as a chance to touch her inappropriately, which Ben sees. At work, Ben spends a lot of his time staring at still life. After all, he's an aspiring painter. Even if the still life is just a bag of peas. Mr. Jenkins yells at him to clean him up. Ben says that everyone has their own way of dealing with the 8-hour night shift. Sharon never looks at the clock, even her own wristwatch, because time goes slower if she looks. Barry, a wannabe stuntman, and Matt, his friend, spend their time messing around. Once they put sex toys in women's basket with them finding out only when they reach the checkout. Ben has now been awake for 2 straight weeks. Ben then reveals that in order to make his time seem to go faster, he imagines it to stop. Here, no one else realizes that time has stopped. Using this frozen time, he appreciates the female beauty around him even more. He says that this fascination began in his childhood. His parents had given board to a Swedish student who did not mind walking around the house naked after a shower. And that is where his love for the female form began. He undresses the women in the store and sketches them, all of them. Once he is done, he dresses them back again. He also puts Mr. Jenkins in front of Matt and Barry goofing around. Once he is ready, he resumes time again by simply cracking his fingers. In the morning, Sean comes to visit him and tells him to forget Susie. Ben is annoyed by this line of conversation every day. He thinks back to their childhood. Sean once showed him his parents' collection of adult magazines. This was the first time that Ben had seen the female's organs in that much detail. However, Sean's mom came back and, seeing their erected organs, had always assumed that they were gay. Sean also had a neighbor across his street called Natalie. For some money, she used to show him her vagina. And just like that, Natalie had become the most popular girl on the street. Back at the store, there is a new kid, Brian, who is a martial artist. Matt eggs him to show them his moves. Brian then tricks Matt and slaps him, causing laughter from Ben and Barry. In the locker room, Ben offers Sharon his sandwich, which she happily takes a bite of. However, a small pickle is stuck to her face, which he wipes off of her. Ben wants to freeze time and savor that moment. However, he finds that he can't stop it, only slow it. Back in the store, Matt says that he asked Sharon out, who said yes. Ben is disappointed and mentions how the word crush has meanings for attraction and disappointment. Ben tells Sean that he likes Sharon from work. Sean gives his usual insensitive reply, annoying Ben. At work, Matt tells the boys of his sex with Sharon, much to the disgust of Ben. Just then, Mr. Jenkins comes in and says that another branch manager has challenged them to a football match. He then gives a rousing speech, a copy of Gladiator. At the match, they realize that their opponents are good players. Sharon also comes to watch the match. The match begins and our boys are terrible at it. Not even by trying could one reach the natural lack of talent that they possess. In a timeout, Mr. Jenkins urges Ben to push himself. In a heroic undertaking, Ben tears through the opponent's defense and passes to Mr. Jenkins, who misses it. Matt kicks the rebound and hits Mr. Jenkins. Ben pauses the time and walks around the sports center. He wonders if he is spending too much time in the frozen world. Back at the match, he restarts the game. Mr. Jenkins has a face full of blood, so Matt takes him to the hospital. Ben and Sharon take a late-night coffee, and he asks her if she is seeing Matt. She says no. They talk about their life. Sharon is studying Spanish, and in Spanish, she says that his football team is dog shit. Ben chuckles at this. He asks her why she chose Spanish, and she says she chose it because she wants to escape to someplace else that is not England, most probably South America. Ben respects her dream. She asks him what his dream is. He replies that he wants to be a painter who is good enough to have his work hung in a gallery. She says that she has a fascination for painters and their ability to see beauty in everything and then capture it. Later, Ben drops her home and they share an awkward but adorable kiss. The next day, Mr. Jenkins, now in terrifying bandages, says that he wants to throw a party for his birthday. Sharon asks Ben to be her date for that day, which he accepts. Mr. Jenkins then calls the 4 boys to his office to talk about his birthday party. He wants a surprise stripper and chooses Ben to manage one and also gives him £200. Ben takes up the expertise of Sean, who takes him to a strip club. While Sean talks to the stripper, Ben imagines Sharon pole dancing. Sean brings him back to reality, saying that they have a stripper for £200. It has now been 4 weeks since Ben last slept. He still stops time and draws. His main muse these days is Sharon. He imagines her pursuing her dream of going to South America and him going with her. One night before the party, they share a tender kiss. And this breaks whatever spell was there. For the first time in weeks, he sleeps. He is then woken up by a man named Alex Prout from Prout Galleries, who saw Ben's paintings in the university. Alex wants to put his work in the gallery. However, it is revealed that this is just a prank by Matt and Barry. Everyone gets ready for the party in their own way. Afterwards, Ben goes to pick up Sharon. They share pleasantries, and then Ben tells her about the offer by the gallery. Sharon is super happy for him. Then they go to the party. Things are very lively there. Somehow, Susie is also there with that new boyfriend of hers, Steve. Apparently, Steve is Mr. Jenkins' brother. Susie comes to talk to Ben and Sharon, and then they part. However, it seems that she still has her eyes on Ben. After a while, the stripper arrives with her guard. She puts on a show for all to see, bringing yelps and howls from everyone. Once the show ends, she bumps into Sean, who recognizes her. It's Natalie, his neighbor when he was young. While Ben goes upstairs to the restroom, Mr. Jenkins hits on Sharon. Upstairs, Ben runs into Susie, who says that she's sorry for not giving him a chance. Behind them, Barry gets into a box to do a stunt. Everyone is looking in their direction, even Sharon. Susie jumps in for a kiss, and Sharon obviously misunderstands the situation. Ben pushes Susie back and pauses the time. When he looks behind, Sharon is about to leave. He can pause or slow time, but he can't rewind time. He knows it. He knows that nothing he will say will calm her anger. So he sits there for over 2 days without finding a solution. Knowing he can't stay like this, he cracks his knuckles and unfreezes time. Sharon leaves. Ben goes to Sharon's apartment where she screams at him, just like Susie did weeks ago. He sees it all in slow motion. Despite his explanations that Susie had kissed him without his consent, she doesn't listen to him and slams the door on him. Overcome with sadness, he leaves. The next day, he goes to Prout Galleries expecting to be welcomed. However, Alex Prout says that he never called him. Ben realizes that he had been pranked. He is about to leave, but Alex offers to take a look since he's already there. Alex looks at the sketches and is thoroughly impressed. He offers to put his work up for exhibition. At Sharon's apartment, she receives an invitation to his exhibition. At the exhibition, a gallery owner is impressed and offers to put him up in New York. She asks him if he has any idea for his next show. Just then, Sharon arrives and he says he wants to go and paint in South America. Meanwhile, Sharon sees a series of paintings about her. She is awed to her very core. She congratulates him on his beautiful work. Ben begins to apologize, but she says it's okay. His paintings tell her much more than what he could say. He asks her if she trusts her. She says yes. So he kisses her and pauses time. When he leans back, she is not frozen. All of time has stopped, but not these two. Then they go outside, where even the snowflakes have stopped midair, creating a beautiful galaxy in the space around them. They kiss into the night. And that's where the movie ends. Make sure to check out the next film displayed on your screen right now, and subscribe now with all notifications enabled to not miss out on future videos.